Good afternoon. Thanks so much for being here for this episode of Live at Lunch, Finding Safety Through the Sexual Assault Survivor Protection Act. My name is Joelle Piercy. I'm the Director of Outreach and Prevention at Safe+Sound Somerset. I'm joined today by Sue Rivera, Safe+Sound Somerset's Director of Advocacy and Crisis Response. Thank you so much for being here, Sue.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate the time that, and bringing up this subject. So thank you.
Absolutely. So we know that the Sexual Assault Survivor Protection Act was passed not too long ago, a few years ago. And I think we're going to refer to it as SASPA, if that's all right. Yes. SASPA, a little shorter. But we wanted to find out today from you a little bit more information about the different types of protections, what falls under this act, and how does it help survivors? So, first of all, can you explain to us a little bit about what the Sexual Assault Survivor Protection Act is?
So actually, the Sexual Assault Survivor Protection Act was enacted in 2015. It came into play in May of 2016 in the state of New Jersey. What this does is helps with the gap through that was in the Domestic Violence Protection Act for domestic violence. This act is specifically for sexual assault and for anybody that has been harmed through sexual assault or acts of sexual assault that does not have an intimate person relationship with the person that caused harm. It's very important to realize that this act is there to protect somebody in order so that they can seek protection from the courts and the legal system for somebody that may not have a dating relationship, a husband or a spouse. This covers possibly a person that may have unfortunately been raped. And this person may have, after these acts have been done to the survivor, this person that did harm may be harassing them still in other ways. The important thing to note that this act protects anybody through sexual violence that does not have an interpersonal partner relationship.
So that's really interesting. So before this act was passed, those orders of protection were really only for that intimate relationship. And so that's the loophole you're talking about, right?
Yes. And this is very important for anybody out there that has come and had this, unfortunate incident happen to them, that this is an order of protection that will help them, through the courts.
So what is a protective order?
So a protective order prevents further acts of violence. It also helps keep the person that did harm away from that person. And it could protect them for certain locations that the survivor needs to go to, their place of work, employment, also, their home, their maybe other family members as well in that act, or a school. There are a lot of, unfortunately, college students that may have had this act happen to them. So this protection order is very important to help them, regain some safety.
And is a protective order, is it issued by the police, by the courts? How is the protective order issued?
So the one thing that's very different about this protective order, a SASPA, can only be obtained through the Superior Court in the county. So this protective order will need to be done at the courthouse in Somerset County, and I'm speaking for Somerset County. It's the Superior Court located in Somerville on North Bridge Street. They would have to go in person to the family division to obtain that protective order.
Does someone have to have filed like a criminal complaint or gone through the police at all in order to get this?
No, not at all. It doesn't have to be, they don't have to involve the police, or they may not want to involve the police, but they just want a protective order against this person from causing more harm or harassment or threats that may be, that may be happening.
So let's say someone is doing this. You said they need to go to the court to file for that. What's the process after that initial filing?
So when somebody goes to the courthouse, they're going to meet with a court officer, and they're going to tell them their circumstances and explain what may have happened during the incident, what the survivor went through with the person that caused them harm. And then after that, that would be, that is the initial piece of that, but then there would be a separate court date that they would go in front of a judge, and they would speak to a judge about their circumstance. Obviously, the person that caused them harm could be there because they would get that protection order served to them. And then the judge will determine, if they will get a SASPA, a permanent order of protection.
It sounds like this could be a really potentially scary or intimidating process for somebody.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit, how do Safe and Sound Somerset legal advocates support a survivor through this process?
Well, I will tell you, our advocates are very knowledgeable, compassionate. They listen to the survivor and the incidents that occurred, try to walk them through and be with them during the entire court process. And from the time that they may apply for that SASPA to the time that they'll be going in front of the judge to hopefully obtain a permanent SASPA, right? Our advocates will sit with them, provide support. They're not attorneys, but we will provide the support that they may need going through that court process from the very beginning to the very end of that process. It's really important that people know that advocates are there for them and for that support. For somebody that may be possibly intimidated or afraid of that process, it's so important for them to be able to know that Safe and Sound advocates are there to support them, whether it be through a SASPA or a domestic violence restraining order.
For people who are listening and maybe they're wondering if this applies to them, who can apply for a SASPA order? Who can utilize Safe and Sound Somerset services, legal advocacy services?
Any survivor of sexual assault can apply for this order that wants to receive protection. And it's very important. It could be, a man against a woman against a man. It could be somebody possibly in the LGBTQ community that needs protection from their partner, or the person that perpetrated them. It's very important that people understand this is for everybody in the community, and that we will be there to support them.
Are there any age restrictions for seeking protection under this order?
So parents, a
Mhm.
person under the age of 18, parents can apply for the SASPA on behalf of their children that are under 18.
Mhm. That's really important to know. Thank you for sharing
Yes,
that.
yes.
As someone who has walked people through this process and sat with them in court, what does it mean for somebody to seek either a protective order under SASPA or a domestic violence restraining order?
You know, I think it means so much to them for their safety and their well-being, emotionally, physically. It means so much to them to take that step to regain their autonomy that they need or feel that they need, and to be supported by somebody that believes what they've gone through and, has no doubt that this person needs this order of protection.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I've been in the field, letting people know about services, and I get some questions. And sometimes people say, well, it's just a piece of paper. It doesn't really do anything.
Right.
How would you respond to someone who's thinking that about this process?
I will say, I totally understand how they would feel that way. And they know that they may not know that person, but they may know that person, but not have a relationship with that person. It's important for them to do what they feel is best for them. And we are here to support them throughout the process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also think it's also just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How else do you work with other departments? Can you connect survivors with other departments within the organization?
Yes. So our team is really wonderful in providing the information of our wraparound services through Safe and Sound. We have been able to connect a lot of survivors to our clinicians, to our financial empowerment program, and possibly, safety as well. But it's very important for us as advocates to let them know what other important services that we have in the agency that are provided free of charge. And, a lot of our clients that we serve are now being able to receive these services, other supportive services for their emotional health, their, for all of that encompasses sexual violence, right? Because there's so many components of how you're affected. And it's really important that they know that we're here to support them through all our services of the agency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we know that if anyone's listening to this and feel like that this piece may be part of their healing journey, know that you can access any of our services at no charge, regardless of income, regardless of gender identity, sexual orientation, or immigration status. You can access our hotline 866-685-1122. Are there any other ways that people can get connected to the to our services after a sexual assault?
I would say possibly if they were going through an activation and they needed our support there. We have staff and volunteers that help and go to the hospital, providing that the survivor wants our services. They could get support through the FME SART coordinator, through the prosecutor's office. And if they feel that they need to go to the hospital, we are here to support them in that area as well.
Mm-hmm. If anyone watching today has questions about some of this, we actually have 2 previous live at lunches, which we'll link below. One is an interview with the SARC coordinator, FNE, forensic nurse examiner, as well as one of our compassionate, amazing volunteers who serves as a confidential sexual violence advocate as well. So thank you, Sue, for exploring that process and explaining that a little bit.
No problem.
So I just wanted to thank you. This has been really, really an incredible kind of overview of this newish, right, in the scheme of things, type of protection and type of option for people to obtain safety in another way. And I like to ask folks who are on live at lunches with us, Sue, if there is a survivor of either sexual assault, domestic violence, who's watching us today, what message would you have for them?
Well, it's always my message, and my message is, how can I help you? Mm-hmm. How can we help you get through this process and move through and start healing and making this a positive journey for you to reach your safety, your autonomy, and being empowered while doing it. So how can I help you?
Thank you for that message, and thank you for the work you do to support survivors through this system. And thanks again for joining us today. For everyone else listening, thank you for being here. Please know that, as Sue said, we are here to help however you see yourself in the journey forward on your path to healing and safety. So if you or someone you know needs help, you can text or call our 24/7 helpline 866-685-1122. You can also find a whole range of information, resources, tools on our website, www.safe-sound.org. You can also check out our Ask Ava podcast, which is a series of short podcasts that we do answering real questions about sexual assault and dating violence from local teens. So thank you again for everyone for watching. Thank you again for being here, Sue.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.